American football in Finland.
The voice in your ears and the face on your screen. I'm Perfect Pervis, and this is American Football in Finland. And today, I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Green. What's going on, Chris?
What's up? Obviously, no Q today. We're recording this on his birthday, so many happy returns, Q. Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to Coach Q, man. I think he's like 55 now. I'm not sure, but just throw a little shade to his age on there. He'll have to watch the episode to know that we threw some shade. The AFF podcast is available everywhere you listen to your podcast, and you can see it visually here on YouTube, wherever you listen or watch. Be sure to subscribe, follow, and like us. And any of you people out there who listen or watch but don't hit that subscribe or like button, we know you're a hater, but that's okay. We're going to get on with the show anyways. All right, so we got first down, and instead of talking about what's on our minds, we talking playoff picture. Just going over it. I'm pretty sure it's set, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. Helsinki Roosters are 10-1, Kuopio Steelers 8-3, Seinäjoki Crocodiles 8-3, Porvoo Butchers 7-4, and then our non-playoff teams would be the Wassa Royals at 3-8, the Helsinki Wolverines, who are 2-10, their season is done, and then the Loya Crusaders at 1-10. So again, just opening this up, Chris. What are your thoughts on the playoff pictures? We have 1 week left. What are your thoughts? Let's talk the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, it's the 4 teams we thought it was going to be at the start of the season. It wasn't necessarily what we thought preseason rankings were going to be, but as the season's kind of gone on, sort of by like week 7, 8, we kind of knew where or whereabouts. And after the Taylor injury as well with Josh Taylor, we knew the Steelers probably weren't going to be number 1. So we kind of discounted them as being number 1. And we pretty much got the order by like week 9, I think. I would say so. Pretty much set in stone then. I mean, mathematically, obviously, the 4 places are still not completely set in stone. Number 1 is completely racked up, but there's still a chance that the Butchers can make the 3rd seed. And the only way they can do that is by beating the Crocodiles by more of a margin than what the Crocodiles beat them. So when they first met in week 1.
You want to know something I found out interestingly this weekend?
Go on then.
That's not even true.
The head-to-head record doesn't count?
No. Apparently they changed the rules, and this is some people telling me like, hey, you might want to know this. Apparently they've changed the tiebreaker to something about it's no longer about the head-to-head. It's about if you have the same record, the team with the most home wins gets the tiebreaker.
That is the weird TIF, man. That's the weird
tiebreaker. Apparently, the league didn't want to do points anymore. So for me, it makes perfect sense for Finland because it's one of those things of when games get kind of like out of hand, you see this influx of people wanting to put in, backups and kind of take it easy. And this is what it does is it allows you to not be as competitive as you could be all the time. It allows for something like this where I think no matter what happens, the Crocodiles have more home wins or something like that.
I'm just counting them up
and
now.
Then there's also something about like the quality of the wins you have. Like if you've beaten more higher placed teams, like both teams have beaten the Steelers, but something about who you're playing, your home wins. Either way, what it looks like is that it does not matter what happens. The order is set.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of.
Well, the Crocs have got 5 home wins. The Butchers have got 3. At the moment, obviously, the Butchers are playing the Crocs, so that could make it 4 if they get it, but then they're still behind on home wins. So, hey, TIF, nobody knows.
I mean, honestly, it doesn't make a big difference. But what I did want to talk about a little bit going into the playoffs is how do you feel about the matchups? Because, I mean, we kind of know what the matchups are now. It's not really going to change much.
I mean, so we'll look at 1 and 4 first. So we're looking at the Roosters probably going to play the Butchers here. Now, obviously, they've just played each other this past week, and we'll talk more about that in detail when we go on to the games. But I really feel like the Butchers probably could have won that game. So I think it's anyone's ball game, dependent on a lot of factors, which, again, I'll save it for when we actually talk about it in the segment of what my thoughts were of the game, but also what I think the keys to success for the Butchers are moving forward, because they're probably going to have to play them again. So I think it's going to be a real close game, those two together. I think the fact that the Roosters are at home this time, I think that might make a bit of difference on the Butchers. They got to go away because they played them at home this time. And then the other game, the Steelers and the Crocs. I mean, again, we're looking at a close game here because it just depends what happens. If they can keep CP in check and they can restrict him, I'm not going to say stop him because it's going to be hard to stop him completely. But if they can keep him in check and they play solid offense, then they're going to come out with a victory, the Steelers, I think. I think, again, we've got two really good matchups to look forward to here. And I think it's one of those, it's going to be really hard to pick the winners for each game because I really do feel that it is anyone's ball game to win this year out of the 4 teams that you've got, because the Butchers didn't play so well at the start of the season, but I feel like they've picked up. I feel like the defense is playing very well at the moment. Probably one of the best defenses in the league as a whole. And I feel like they're doing a real good job on defense. Offensively, their production's not as great as, say, the Roosters offense or the Crocodiles offense at the moment. But defensively, the Butchers are looking really strong. And then you don't know what you're going to get with the Steelers right now. It looks like Treagle's getting that offense down, and he's connecting with Austin Brock a bit more now. Peon's getting going, the running backs. They've got a solid run game there. There's lots of things to exploit, and I really do feel that it is completely open with these 4 teams. Any one of these 4 teams could be winning the championship this year. I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are of it, but that's just my kind of opinion, really.
I actually agree with you. I mean, I could see any of these teams winning and any of these teams losing, and I'm not surprised by either way that it goes. I think that I'm less convinced about the Steelers because I feel like we haven't seen the Steelers team we're going to see in the playoffs. We haven't seen them play any playoff teams.
No.
Like, it's a completely different team, and we don't know, like, no matter how good their offense is getting, and again, when we talk about the game, I don't think it's getting as good as they would like it. We still don't know how it would play against the top teams. They're playing against bums and working on things, but they're still playing against the lower level teams. And then same thing goes for the Butchers. To me, is that the Butchers had their little run in the middle of the season, and that was against the lower teams. They caught the Steelers when the Steelers got an injury, and then they went and beat the Crusaders and the Wolverines. And we're like, oh, they got 3 wins in a row. Yeah, but 2 of them are, bottom feeders, and you beat a team that had an injury during the game. So does that really count? We don't know, because that team is still not – it's much better than that. And then we've seen them play close games against, the Royals? Didn't they play close against the Royals? It was much closer than it should have been, or something at some point.
14-7, yeah, one score.
Yeah, playing a close game against the Royals, who we know are not a playoff team, not a playoff caliber team. So I'm still like, I don't know what to expect from them. And then when they played the Roosters, like you said, we'll talk about it at the game, they let them off the hook. They lost the game they probably should have won. So I don't feel confident in the Butchers. But at the same time, like what Q would say if he was here, they play to their potential. They arguably could be one of the best teams in the league. And we've seen that in random weeks. And
but I think you can say that about any of these 4 teams. If they play to their potential, they are the best team in the league.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're all good, all 4 of them.
Agreed. The only thing is the Steelers are a team that we don't know what their best potential is, really. We just don't. And then the Butchers, we know what their best potential is, but we really have no idea if we ever are going to see it when they need it. And the only reason we can say that, we think that they'll do it in the playoffs is based off of what their team did last year. But based off this season, you would not say that they're going to be able to just show up and play to their potential, because the couple of times they've played like lights out as a team has been against lower competition. The only teams that we've seen play good against top-level competition is the Roosters and the Crocs. The Crocs have pretty much played at top level pretty much every time and then blown out the lower-level teams. All right, that's playoffs, I think. I think we talked about it good enough. Let's get on into what really happened. Are you looking for a community, looking for a brotherhood? Join Ballers Members. Ballers Members is a private group to service athletes where athletes can come together as men in a brotherhood environment. If this is something you're looking for, DM Ballers Internationals at BallersINT on Instagram. So, players of the week have been announced on our social media channels earlier this week. But of course, we want to explain in depth some of our picks outside of the stats. First up, offensive player of the week, and this is a back-to-back. I realized as we posted it online, this is back-to-back. Christian Powell, running back from the Seinäjoki Crocodiles. I would have thought his stats because I know it's not about stats, but he had 25 attempts, 220 rush yards with 2 tutties, and then he added in 36 receiving yards and a receiver touchdown and had 256 all-purpose yards. I mean, that's just impressive. Like, just trying to say all that in a sentence is hard enough to imagine him doing it. And then watching the game, like, this was one of those, like, blowout games, too. Like, I don't think I watched the whole game, right? Wasn't it a blowout? Yeah.
Yeah.
I watched, like,
it was a blowout.
I watched, like, the first quarter, and I was like, oh, so Christian Powell is going to do whatever he wants in this one. And he immediately stood out to me on that aspect. And then apparently he continued that throughout the game to rack up these huge stats. So I was really impressed by his performance, and it's really good to see him get a back-to-back award from us. Like, that was surprising as well. I don't think we do that very often, the back-to-back. But what about you? What were your thoughts about Christian Powell?
There's one play that sticks in my mind from that game, and I know the Royals had some tackling woes again. We'll talk about that more when we talk about that game, but there was one play I watched him, and I think it was like about a 20-yard game or so, but it took 10 guys to bring him down. He literally had guys like flying all around him, flying off of him, and it just goes to show that the boy he's still running hard, and he's running well in his 6th year in the league. So he's doing such a great job, and he got helped out a little bit by Aaron B-Day, so his numbers are a little bit inflated because there was a run from Aaron B-Day. He had a run, and he pitched it to him, and he got like an extra 10 yards out. So his numbers were probably less than 200 yards rushing, but I mean, the guy's insane. He's ridiculous, and he deserves every bit of praise that we give him. And he's just adding to that touchdown tally, of which he has the lead for now, where he overtook Stephen Stokes last week. So yeah, great job, CP. CP doing CP things.
In CP we trust. I also think, and I don't know if people want to agree with me, but I believe that from now on, we should always refer to him as the Maple League all-time leading touchdown. What is it? The Maple League all-time leader in touchdowns, Christian Powell. Like, that should be his title. The Maple League all-time leader in touchdowns. Christian Powell has done this. He has done that. Matter of fact, I'm going to write that down, and I'm going to start calling him that from now on. I just think, put some respect on that man's name. He had a great job. He did a great job this week. Again, back-to-back is always cool to me. And it's just, I mean, if you watch the game, he did whatever he wanted to against that Royals defense. And it had to be demoralizing for them, but also he's a man. So I understand how difficult it is to make that decision to tackle him at any point. So every play just looked like one person wanted to and just didn't have it. So everybody else tried, and
everybody else just bouncing off him like a rubber band. It's crazy.
I'm still very happy that I would never have to play on the same field as that guy as a running back, because I'm not about that life. And I commend all you guys who try to tackle Christian Powell. Like, you're a better man than me, that's for sure, because I wouldn't do it. That'd be the time I'd have some type of injuries against that team every time. But moving on to the defensive player of the week, I'm really glad about this guy. We chose Jesse Vuoxentora.
Centauria.
Vuok Centauria, defensive lineman from the Butchers. Stat-wise, he had 2.5 tackles, 1 sack. I think this is one of those guys that we picked more for what he did that didn't show up on the stats. I think if you watch this game, obviously the Roosters won the game, but nothing they did really came easy for them. Butcher's defense played well enough to win, and Jesse was a big part of it up the middle. If you look at the run game that the Roosters had, a lot of times their running backs had to bounce things outside because he was holding up the middle, which is very hard to do. And I say this because I think a lot of people don't understand this part about playing nose tackle. Jesse Vuok plays nose tackle, where your job is to be as big as 2 people because you have to hold your gap and let 2 people try to block you and not get moved. Every offense, when you go against a nose tackle, you're trying to move them off their spot to create a hole. And the nose tackle's job is to stay in that spot and stop a hole. And I noticed a lot of times in this game, Jesse did his thing. He held it down in the middle where those running backs, they would see that there's bodies there. His body and taking up 2 other guys, the offensive line, so there's nowhere for them to run. When they want to turn his shoulders, he didn't allow that to happen very often, maybe a couple of times because, it is 2 guys. But most of the game, he really forced the Roosters' run game to be focused on the outside. You saw their play calling adjusted to that, and eventually they basically stopped trying to run it up his alley. And that's an effect on the game that you can't put it in the stats. There's no way to put it in the stats, but we're watching football, and we can see that he was able to have that kind of presence in the game. And then I think he got a sack. That was crazy.
Yeah, because good sack as well.
Yeah, he's not pass rushing, but you hold the ball a little bit too long, he'll get there. He's a fast guy. In this game, he was actually helping get a little pressure up the middle against the Roosters. So he did a really good job. So shout out to Jesse. What did you see from him in this game?
I think one of the main stat lines that does stick out for me is that Ethan Greenfield had 19 carries for only 77 yards, and that tells you everything you need to know. The defensive line did their job to restrict him to only 77 yards. I know it's still 77 yards, but that's not Ethan Greenfield numbers. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they were able to restrict him and stop that run up the middle, Jesse was a big part in that. He was plugging up holes and plugging up gaps, and Ethan's having to bounce it and whatnot, and then other guys there to rally and make the tackle. So he was just a dictator for the Roosters run game. He just dictated where the runner needed to go because he was just plugging up so many holes, and he just did a great job. Good tackler, made a great sack, ball rushed through the line, took down the guy. So no, it was great. Yeah, it was good to see, and I'm glad this guy's got the award because he deserves it. He's a great player. Week in, week out, he's a great player. Doesn't always put the numbers up that you expect top defensive lineman, but like you say, he's playing nose, so he's not going to have crazy numbers, but he does his job. He does exactly what's needed of him.
Yeah, it's hard at nose to get a lot of recognition because you're really not going to statistically wow anybody. But fortunate for you, Jesse, here on AFF, we be watching. Because sometimes I literally have to watch plays 3 or 4 times because I'm only watching the linemen because I want to see linemen play because it's something that it's tricky out here in Finland. There's a lot of teams kind of faking it till you make it situation, but not Jesse Vuok Centauria, and congratulations to him, Defensive Player of the Week. All right, let's talk about some of the key performances from last week, all stats aside.
So the first guy I'm going to give some recognition to, he didn't necessarily put up huge numbers this week, but it's more of what he's done this season. You probably already know what I'm going to say, but he had 6 grabs for 55 yards and a touchdown, and that's my boy Kevin Adams. I'm going to give him 1 helmet sticker. But for the season, he needed 55 yards to get to 1,000 yards on the season. He got 55 yards exactly, so he tallied 1,000 yards on the season. And he's just been working. We know Rasmus is a pick machine, so the fact that he can get 1,000 yards with a quarterback like that just says something. It's just his ability for after the catch. This is what he does after the catch gets me, because most of the stuff he catches is either screens, slants, or hitches. It's then what he does afterwards that he does all the grunt work and he just makes it work. Even on his touchdown in that game, he had to make 2-3 guys miss and dive for the end zone. So no, great job, Kevin. Thoroughly deserves it. And yeah, he's my boy. So I got to give him that recognition. So that's my first guy. You want to go?
For me, I want to say first guy I want to give 3 stickers to is none other than Alpha Jallo, the athlete for the Royals. Because this dude playing 2 ways, and I'm gonna go over his stats because it's just it's impressive to me. He had 3 tackles, 1 PBU. That's defense. He's playing safety the whole game. 3 receptions, 79 yards, 1 touchdown. He's playing receiver the whole game. Then he had 3 kick returns, 122 yards. So a 40.7 yard average on kick returns. And he had an all-purpose total of 247 yards.
Kick return touchdown as well.
That was a touchdown. Okay. I didn't see it.
Touchdown.
That's why I didn't know it was a touchdown. Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, once it's a blowout, I'm not watching. So he scored a touchdown kick return. I saw his stats afterwards, but he was already I gave him 3 stars because he did so much already. A lot of times these extra stats, y'all know I'm not watching all that. But yeah, I saw his kick return. I was like, he must have had a lot of kick returns. So I guess he scored a touchdown. So that's pretty good. So again, I don't think there's anybody, and I say this with all due respect to everybody playing, there's no one who does more for their team than Alpha Jallo. Yeah. And even in this game where you're not really playing for anything, you don't really have a chance to win, he still is doing everything for this team at as high of a level as you can do it as someone playing both ways and all special teams and limited amount of touches with the ball. Because if you look at how many kick returns, punt returns, and receptions, that's less than 10 times he touched the ball.
Yeah.
I think he had, 3 receptions, 3 kick returns, and 2 punt returns. That's 3, 3, 6 plus 2. That's 8 touches. And he has over 250 yards all-purpose, or 247 all-purpose yards on less than 10 on just 8 touches in the game. Not to mention he played defense the whole time, where he had 3 total tackles, which is probably closer to 6 half tackles because he was in there a lot.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
For me, it's just impressive to see this guy continue to play at such a high level no matter what his team does for him. So I'm giving him 3 helmet stickers for sure. Anybody else you got? We can go back and forth because
let's go back and forth. Yeah. So I got Francois Pion. He had 23 rushes, 208 rushing yards, 3 TDs. Yeah, 208, 3 TDs, and he was unstoppable. He's like a bowling ball. There was only one thing which I thought was funny. He tried to hurdle a guy early on. Got tackled from underneath. It was complete fail, but he got 208 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. And it's the running game that they've been missing all season, and the fact that he's come in and he's picked up some of the slack that Josh Taylor has left because obviously offense now working with a new quarterback. He's still working his way into this offense. So having a run game like that is just so helpful. And I think he's going to be a real threat down towards the playoffs when we get to them in a couple of weeks' time. So
that's what I think. I think perfect timing for Pion to show up is when they lose their quarterback, they're able to do a little bit more running. He was definitely a great player this week. Next guy I'm going to talk about, I had to get a burp out, is Rod Sylvester, defensive back from the Butchers. I'm giving him three stickers, and I think his stat line was 1 tackle. And again, this is going to be – don't look at the stats. Rod guarded 1 guy the whole game, and that guy was Bryce Nunnally. Go look at Bryce Nunnally's stats for this game. Are you going to do that, Chris? Please tell me.
I can do that. Let me go and look. Just give me 2 seconds.
Go ahead and look. If you're listening and not watching, I guess you could just listen, but you need to see Chris when he looks up Bryce Nunnally's stats for that game. His face, his facial expression. There you go. Bryce Nunnally, 0 catches.
Goose egg.
0 catches. And again, this isn't any indictment on Bryce Nunnally as a receiver or anything, but it's more of giving flowers to Rod Sylvester. His job was easy. Guard the best receiver, limit the best receiver. Now, did he shut Bryce Nunnally down? I don't want to say he did, but I do want to say that he did not allow any catches. Like a receiver can be open and not get the ball. But that doesn't go. That's not what you're there for. Your job is to make sure that when the ball comes that way, that he doesn't catch it. And Rod did that as best you can do in this league. In a league where, again, we've said before, cornerbacks are hard to find, and he's been doing. And obviously, I'm talking from this week because he's going against Bryce Nunley, but he's been kind of doing that all season for them. Is kind of moving around to guard the best receiver. He's played in the slot. He's played at safety. He's played in corner in this game. So he's kind of like their jack of all trades, working with Zach Wright and Nico Royko back there as well. But with their starting corner has been injured. Was it Jose Penisububu? I can't say his last name. But
yeah, no, I'm not going to try.
Jose, number 20, my bad, is out. So obviously they want to go to someone they could trust at the cornerback position. Rod was the guy. I remember we're talking in a group chat because I didn't watch. I watched the second half of the game live after you guys told me it was a good game. I come in to watch it, and I was like, is he guarding Nunley the whole time? Has he been doing this the whole time? Like, that's the first thing I noticed was that Nunley wasn't getting any throws his way, and Rod was on him the whole time. So I went back, obviously, and watched the full game, and, yeah, he guarded him the whole game. So shout out to Rod for doing what a lot of corners in this league can't do, and that's guard a top receiver. Like even if Nunley would have had like 3 or 4 catches, I still would have been impressed. Because it's just that guy usually scores 2 touchdowns a game. So anything less than that is a win for me, guarding Bryce Nunley, and he held him to, goose egg. So again, he might be one of the best corners in the league that we don't even know is a corner because he plays every position for them in the secondary. Who else you got?
So next up, I've got wide receiver for the Crocodiles. I've got Jacoby Reddick. He had 4 catches for 84 yards and 1 touchdown. And the main reason why I'm giving him 2 stars is just for the one play where he scored his touchdown, because this man went left, then came back, reverse field, cut up field, went right, and then scored in the end zone and showed his pace. So, yeah, I mean, just for that play alone, that deserves 2 helmet stickers. I mean, this guy is someone who I didn't really notice at the start of the season. I remember saying on one of the earlier episodes, like, where's this guy come from? Like, I've not noticed him at all. He's not done anything, but he's slowly finding his feet, and he's got better and better as the season's gone on, and we can see how athletic and how quick it is. The only knock I'm going to give you is that forward roll or whatever you did for the celebration was whack. So don't do that again. Do something else for me when you score again, because I know you're going to score again. So do something else. But yeah, I mean, Reddick, you've come on this season. You've changed my opinion of you because I didn't really notice you at the start of the season. So yeah, he deserves his flowers this week, definitely.
That's pretty good. I got a couple of guys I'm gonna throw out here. I'm gonna throw out two guys I'm giving 2 stickers to from the Crocodiles, since we're on the Crocodiles. First up, Atu Tuoko, defensive back, the safety. Had 4 tackles, 1 PBU, 1 interception in this game. Just he did a great job being everywhere. He was a force. You could see him flying around, number 44. I mean, the pick was a gift, but he was there. So, you do what you can with that interception. But he was very active in both the pass and the run game, kind of showed his versatility as a safety. He's been around pretty much all year, but kind of flying below the radar. Hasn't had a lot of action in the pass game this year. So he's been doing a little bit more tackling and assistant tackling. But in this game, he really stood out to me on the defensive side. And then the other guy from the Crocodiles, quarterback, number 4, Christian Arambide. What is he? 17 for 13, 215 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and then 63 rush yards and a rushing touchdown. For me in this one, I still agree, obviously, that Christian Powell was the driving force of the offense, but Christian Arambide was right there behind him. Like when he was throwing the ball, he was efficient. The percentage doesn't look as good as I thought it was. I think he only completed like 57%. But from the game that I saw with my eyes, he was making a lot of timely throws, a lot of good throws on time, and then using his feet to make plays as well. He ran the ball well. He had a lot of plays where, like you said, he lost a couple of rushing yards pitching it to Christian Powell, I guess. That was later in the game. I didn't see that. Obviously, I only watched it until it was 28-7 at half. So I don't know what his half stats were, but he probably had a better percentage than what it ended up in the game being somehow. I don't know. But what I saw in 2 quarters of play was a dude that was in charge of the offense, moving the ball, and having success the whole time. So that's why he gets 2 stars from me. He played a great game. Yeah, that's all I'm going to do. What about you? Those are my last 2 guys.
Okay, so I'm going to go with Charles Akano. He's going to get 2 stars. He had 5 solos, 1 assist. But of those 5.5 tackle totals, 4.5 of them were TFLs, one of which was a sack. That tells you everything. He completely destroyed the run game. He completely destroyed the run game of the Royals. And yeah, he was just, this guy he's not stopping. He's just getting better and better. And every week we talk about him. Like another guy who's won back-to-back MVP awards from us, like defensive MVP awards. Like he's putting his hat in the ring for MVP. Yeah, I said it. MVP. Because he's putting his
award season coming up, guys. Award season is coming up.
Like he's putting his name in the hat for the Sisu Award, or he's
Sisu.
There. I mean, I'd say defensive MVP is probably between him and Timmy Nuika. I'd say it's between those 2 guys probably. I think they've been the best 2 defenders this season. So yeah, Charles Akano. you're gonna get 3 stars for me for that one. And I'm gonna finish on him because that was a good one to finish on.
Well, I forgot once. I'm gonna throw out my 2-star since you already named him. Timmy Nuika. He had 8 tackles and half a tackle for loss. And in this game, he was doing that hybrid thing that he does where he's technically like they're running like a 4-2-5 defense, but he's playing like in the box, but also at like the nickel slot spot, like guarding slot receivers and carrying them into the safety. And some plays, if it's a pass, he's in pass coverage. If it's a run, he's in the box. Somehow he is, no matter what, involved in the play. And that's really hard to do from his position. And, you don't really see him out of position ever. Every time there's a play, him and Zach Wright, number 4, number 0, I see those numbers every play. No matter where the ball is, by the time that play is over, those numbers are to the ball. And in this game, he just really stood out because he was doing so much and covering so much ground to me. So I give him 2 stickers this week. And like you said, I would have him up for Defensive Player of the Year as well because he's so versatile. Might as well talk about it now. 2 very different players, but 2 very dynamic players. And unfortunate. Well, I say unfortunate like that's a fact, but no, it is fortunate. We will see these 2 play against each other this week, right? That's the upcoming game.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. I digress. I guess let's get into the actual review of the games. Oh, where's this thing at? Okay, so we know who actually won or lost the games, but let's, tell people how we decide. Okay, Portable Butchers versus Helsinki Roosters. Who won or lost this game? And then tell us why, Chris.
I'm going to say the Butchers lost this game. And the reason why I'm going to say the Butchers lost this game is they were 14-7 up. 14-7 up with 4 minutes to go.
In the game? Is that what it was?
They were 14-7 up with 4 minutes left to go in the game.
Can I tell you this? That 4th quarter went by so fast to me.
It did, yeah.
Because I remember watching, and when we were in our group chat, I remember Q said this, and sorry, he's not here to say it himself, but he said in the group chat, he's like, Brandon Gwinner could become a legend right here. And I was thinking in the back of my head, what would that mean? It still got the whole quarter left. And then after they didn't do anything with the ball, I realized there's a minute left in the game. Like, what? I didn't even know. Time went by so fast in that 4th quarter. I think somebody was cheating. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, it's ridiculous that it went down like that. But continue. Yeah. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, so they were 14-7 up with 4 minutes to go, and they lost the game 21-14 in the end. You're 14-7 up. I know the Roosters were driving in that instance, but the Butchers defense played lights out all game. They had multiple 3-and-outs. They had a goal line stand, which came after a muff punt. So they had a muff punt. Rod Sylvester muffed his punt, and Julian Bell recovered it. I think it was Julian Bell recovered it.
Yeah, it
And
was Julian Bell.
they had the ball in the red zone straight away, and they had a 4th and goal, and they went for it, the Roosters, and the Butchers defense stood up. They did a great job. They had lots of missed tackles late in the game, which I think is one of the things that did cost them. So apart from like the last few minutes of the game, I felt like the defense was solid throughout. Apart from the last few minutes, they missed a lot of tackles. And I think the pick to Julian Bell as well, where Gwynner just heaved it up there when he didn't really need to, heaved it up into triple coverage. And Julian Bell came down with it. It was exactly that, a wasted possession. When you're in control of the game as well, you're wasting possessions. You don't want to do that. And he probably could have took off and got like 7 to 10 yards on that play because he's rolling out left. So he's rolling out left already. So you know he's a right-handed quarterback. So he's got to set his feet to be able to get that strength for the ball. But I feel like there was a lane there. He probably could have took off. And it's something we've not really seen much of this season.
I'm glad you said that. That's exactly what I was thinking. We haven't seen him really run.
Yeah, it's almost like he doesn't want to run this year for some reason. I don't know if that's like I'm being a passer this year or whatever, or wants to prove to people that he doesn't need to run to win games. But, I mean, you're playing the Roosters here. You've got an opportunity. If you beat the Roosters this week and you beat the Crocs next week, suddenly you're sat in that 3 seed, not in the 4 seed, and you haven't got to play the Roosters again in the playoffs. So it makes your opportunity a bit better. But I guess it's pick your poison in the playoffs, really, because we said before, like all 4 teams are good, and whoever you play is going to be tough. So, yeah, I mean, Ambro played well. He didn't play amazing. He played well. There was 3 throws, which I thought he threw absolute dots. The first one was to Johannes on that right-hand sideline. He just dropped that thing in there. It's probably one of the best throws I've ever seen him make. Like, even though it wasn't for a touchdown, it was such a great throw because it was just over the defender, right in the basket, only where the receiver could get it. Johannes made a great catch. He threw the touchdown pass to Greenfield. Again, straight over the defender, over Akina's head, in between the safety and where Josh Akina was going. Straight in there for a touchdown. And then, obviously, the last touchdown of the game to Takapa, which was, again, a great throw. It was just a dot, and he made 3 really good throws at key points of the game. And that helped them win the game as well. Obviously, 2 of them for touchdowns. One of them was before the Greenfield touchdown, so it put them in good positions. But yeah, I really do feel like the Butchers should have won this one. I think the Roosters snatched the jaws of defeat. So I really did want to pick the Butchers to win this game. And I remember saying in our chat, I was like, damn, I really wish I picked the Butchers because I felt like they could cause an upset here. And they almost did, and they probably should have. Obviously, I picked the Roosters, so they won, so I get the win. But I really feel like the Butchers did lose this game, and they could have won it. And it could have put them in an opportunity to be in that 3 seed rather than the 4.
I agree with you 1,000%. The Butchers lost this game, and I feel really bad that they lost the game because I felt their defense played well enough to win. Even giving up the touchdown at the end, the 21 points. I'm sorry, you give up 21 points, you should still win the game. Like 21 is not a large amount of points in football. Your offense should be able to score 28, and especially their offense of all teams. I just think, like you were saying, you brought it back to my mind, those throws, those touchdowns that Ambro threw, all matchup plays. Like outside of the actual touchdown where he jumped, which, hey, congratulations, Ambro. You just wanted that bad. You just jumping over top there, risking your life to score touchdowns. Like, hey, that's what's up. I'm cool with that. I love that. And then the 2 throws, the one to Greenfield. It's a matchup. Greenfield is going to beat Akina every time. It's just leverage. You just out-leverage the linebacker with a faster running back. Good throw, touchdown. And then the other touchdown you have is perfect throw, but again, you're going against a corner that you know you can beat. And they tried that corner many times in this game, and that one came out to be a touchdown. So one thing we said before the game was that it's going to be which corners play better in this game overall.
Yeah.
And I feel really bad that I talked about Rod Sylvester earlier. He played really well, but he couldn't play both sides of the field. And then even if you go and look at the Roosters side, they had some issues at corner too. So And that's another thing is the Butchers didn't really attack the weakness of the Roosters defense, which was their corners. That was pretty much the only weakness you're going to find on that defense. And we just didn't see them like attacking it, which brings me up to the Butchers looked bad basically once Lucas Erla came out. And that's kind of been the story. The couple of times we've seen their offense really just not look well or not step up, it's been the few times that we haven't seen Lucas Erla on the field with them. And I don't know if he had an injury. I think he did have an injury or something that he still might be coming back next week and for the playoffs. But it's one of those situations where his role in the offense is kind of to take the top off. And once he came out, they brought in Alexi Hervinen, who plays slot, and they moved out Christian Alton into outside receiver. But I guess he's not the same explosive type of receiver or something. Or maybe they started calling different type of plays. But you could tell like the offense was missing something once they took him out, and they stopped taking those shots at those better at those worst corners. And actually, which was really confusing is Ronnie Lane got hurt. Ronnie Lane got hurt. So the Roosters brought in, I don't know the kid's name, number 36. But if I was the Butchers, I'm looking at him and I'm just thinking fresh meat. I believe all four receivers for the Butchers.
I think actually Lucas scored on as well. Lucas's touchdown was on number 36, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe it was. That makes sense. But my question is, why didn't they keep going at him with any of their receivers? Any of their receivers could beat him. Like, I say that that's a fact. All of their receivers could beat him, and they didn't like attack that weakness because that was the only weakness that you're going to find. I mean, number 28 is on the other side. That's their starter. I guess he was technically their starter, but he's also a weakness. You could beat both of their corners, and you're not like putting them in situations or calling plays that attack those corners. That's just something I just did not understand about them. One last thing about the Roosters in this game, or two last things about the Roosters. Roosters had some injuries. I mentioned earlier, Ronnie Lane got hurt playing corner, and then Johannes Johainen also got hurt playing receiver. And you saw, like, I believe the Roosters are the better team. And, I mean, obviously they won the game, so they obviously are the better team. But their offense, it was like moving along, and it kind of went to a halt when Johannes came out. You could see, similar to what Lucas does for the Butchers, he does for the Roosters, is with him on the field, when they had him and Bryce Nunley on the field, even though they were doing a good job of covering Bryce Nunley and keeping his targets down, Johannes was getting loose out there. He was making plays, and it looked like he was going to be able to have a good game, and then he got hurt, and you didn't have anybody really step up. Takapau caught that pass on the corner, and that's great, but I'm looking at, like, the Roosters going forward and playing in the playoffs. Like, it might be a little tough to scheme that offense if you don't have Johannes kind of running those mid and deep routes for you, because he creates separation with his route running. He gets open. And that's something that some of those younger receivers just aren't able to do at a high level. Like when you're playing against the Butchers who have Zach Wright, Timmy Nuika, Rod Sylvester all moving around to play in coverage, it's really hard to get open, but Johannes Johainen had no problem doing that. So it's really just interesting. But I do agree, Butchers lost this game. And last thing about this game is congratulations to Juha Hakala on his 100th Maple League win. Like, that's impressive. I don't know if people understand how impressive that is, but the Maple League season is usually 10 to 12 games a season. So if you were to start today and you wanted to catch up with Hakala, it would take you at least 10 years. And also, I don't know if that's like plus playoffs. So, I mean, I guess but the playoffs has always been like a 2-game thing here. So max 14 games a season. You still, if you're winning 10 games a season, which would be a good average to have, still going to take you about a decade to catch up with this guy. So he's been doing it for a long time, and he has a very high success rate. I don't know his actual stats, but I'm pretty sure if you look at his win percentage in Finland in the Maple League, he's probably like 800-900 or something like that. More wins than losses. Can't say he's lost more than like 3, maybe 4 games in the season since I've been here. And that's almost 8 years. So yeah, congratulations to him. Any last words on this game before we move on? Get on to something nice.
Are
you a fan of the American Football in Finland podcast? Show your support in style. Rock our logo proudly on hoodies, t-shirts, beanies, and snapbacks, all designed for fans like you. Join us in celebrating American football in Finland. Grab your gear and be a part of the AFF community.
All right, second game of the week, Wausau Royals versus Seinäjoki Crocodiles. I'll go first on this one. The Crocodiles won. The Royals really didn't have a chance. It was a rout, 28-7 at half. I only watched the first 2 quarters, but I saw some good football in the first 2 quarters. And before you tell me anything about what you're going to say about this game, Chris, I want to know, do you think when Giannis Sarkis scored his touchdown, he did like a crown me celebration?
Yeah, it looked like a crown, yeah. He went like this.
Yeah. So my next thing would be, if he did the crown me celebration, is that some shade to the Royals? Like, is it? I immediately, when he did it, I immediately thought of how when teams play University of Texas, they do horns down. So I was thinking like crown me. And if that's not what
we used to play against the Coventry Jets, and when I scored, I did the jet plane. So yeah, it's one of them things. I think
I think so. If it isn't one of those things, let's make it one of those things, because I think that is awesome. And from now on, if you're playing the Royals and you score a touchdown, I want you to put a crown on your head if possible. Anybody that's listening or watching, please do that, because that I was so excited. And I also just want to throw this out here. Giannis Sarkis is one of my favorite players. His vibe, his play, everything, I love it, and I hope he just plays for the next like 20 years, because that's possible in Finland, as everybody does. But what were your thoughts on who won or lost this one?
Yeah, I agree. Crocodiles definitely won. I mean, there was lots of things that the Royals didn't do well. There was lots of things the Crocodiles did well. Obviously, Christian Powell, we know about this guy, lit up the scoreboard, lit up the yards. Royals, some boo-boos. Lots of woes in this game. Bad tackling. I'm going to start with that. Bad tackling. It took 10 guys to take CP down on one of the plays. Reddick made 4 or 5 guys miss tackles on his touchdown. The Royals muffed the kickoff. Linfors muffed the kickoff, which was recovered by the Crocodiles. Yeah.
That was hilarious. That was hilarious. Because it wasn't like a short kickoff. It was a regular kickoff.
It was a deep one, and it just bounced off him and went forward.
It's like 20 yards forward. Oh, my gosh. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was nuts. But, yeah, I mean, and then I guess Alpha was doing Alpha things, as he always does. Caught a screen for a touchdown, kick return to a touchdown. But it just wasn't enough. And it's always the same thing from the Royals that we talk about. We talk about Alpha and no one else, really. Okay, Tom Swasty wasn't great in this game. The defense stood up. Like Akano, we said about him earlier, like how good of a game he had stopping the run. Obviously, they're playing with a backup quarterback at the moment. The only reason why they got 20 points as well is because Aaron Bide threw a pick in the last 2 minutes of the game from his own goal line. So it gave him a short field to be able to score the touchdown. I think it's his rushing touchdown. The quarterback rushed it in. But other than that, I mean, it was crazy. The one touchdown that sticks in my mind, how bad the coverage was in this game from the Royals as well, was the touchdown that Aaron Bide threw to number 9. I don't know his name because he doesn't play that much.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, number 9. All he did was run a go route. And there was nobody anywhere near him within 20 yards of him. He literally just ran on the right-hand side. It was late in the game. He ran. There was, I think it was a spread or a trips formation. I can't remember exactly, but he definitely had at least one guy inside of him. And the guy inside of him ran like a post route, which drew but the corner's alignment was really weird. It was almost like he wasn't lined up on the Z receiver. So he went in. Number 9 was just like, hey, I'm open in the end zone.
That's it. So we're doing mad and deep post, and their corner has no awareness and goes with the post
Honestly,
instead of the fade.
so bad. It was so bad, the coverage in this game. But yeah, I mean, Royals, you got to bring it next year because clearly something's not right, and you need to recruit better. You need to get better imports in. Like, obviously, if you can keep hold of Alpha, that's great because this guy is insane, and what he does for your team is crazy. Like, you'd be fools to let him go, but you need to address the quarterback position. You need a passer who can pass the ball. You really need to address the receiver position, and you really need to address the DB position as well because Royals are struggling this year, and it's sad because you're such a good organization, and I'm disappointed that you haven't performed as well as what you could have this year. And I think it comes down to recruitment and the players that you've got. And I know someone said about their injuries to their receivers at the start of the season, but do something about it. Like you need to rectify that. But yeah, I mean the Crocs definitely won this game. It was a blowout.
Yeah, and that's that. We'll get on up out of that game.
Hey there, fans of American football in Finland. Want to show some love and support to your favorite podcast? For just €3, you can buy us a cup of coffee and help keep our podcast running strong. But why stop at one cup? Why not support each host with a cup? Visit buymeacoffee.com and show your support today. Cheers to keeping the conversation going.
Those ads are funny. I like them though.
Do we get many people buying us a coffee or what?
I won't say it on the air, but it's very far in between when we get a coffee. We'll get a coffee.
Come on,
and
guys,
then,
support us.
Yeah, it'll be a few months before we get another coffee. So I guess we just have to drink slow that one cup. So the last game of the weekend, we had the Kuopio Steelers versus Helsinki Wolverines. Another route, easy game. I'm going to go first because these are the games I'm only watching one half. It was 21-0 at half, and so I turned it off. What I really took away from it, I think the Wolverines did what they always do. They play as good as they can play, and that's fine. Like, I'm not expecting them to upset anybody. But in my opinion, and obviously it might have got better in the second half, I don't know, but the Steelers look sloppy. I saw as they were getting into their plays, it was taking them a very long time to line up, like to get into their formations on the offensive side. Like everything was just like, it just seemed like they were struggling to like get things going. And then when they're actually running their plays, quarterback wasn't really in sync with the receivers. A lot of errant throws, and where you're like, the ball is just a little bit here, a little bit there. Not like horrible throws, but just enough that you can't make a completion. You know, the running game looked as good as it can from Peon as usual, but offensively they just looked out of sync. And even with the play calling, I saw a lot of like double move plays from the receivers, and the throws were off, or he didn't have enough time to do that because the Wolverines were able to get a little bit of pressure on the end. Shout out to Sebastian Sanye playing defensive end for the Wolverines. That was crazy. But other than that, like, I mean, they were gonna win this game, and we've been saying that, you know, we want the Steelers to, you know, get going with their offense, get accustomed to the new pieces. But I didn't see that in this game. And I don't know, maybe in the second half they started clicking on all cylinders, but from the first half, from what I saw a team that is still not there in terms of their play offensively between the quarterback and his receivers, as well as the actual play calling offensively of them calling plays that are for their need. Like, I was really surprised about all those like double move plays. Like, it was a little weird. And I saw them trying to get the ball to Austin Brock, but not in an organic way, and more of a, well, you know, this ball is going to him on this play. And it's like, I understand what you're trying to do, but sometimes that doesn't work when everyone knows where the ball is going. Like, I know you're throwing him a screen. I know he's running a short out here. I know he's running a post. Like, I could look at the formation and say, this is what Austin Brock is going to be doing in this play. And I think that's one thing they got to get fixed. They need to make him a piece of the offense, but not force the offense through him. I don't know how you do that. And again, Noah Choate didn't play, so that's another aspect that really could have fixed things, is having him involved in offense as well. I don't know why he didn't play, because I think this was the perfect opportunity for both of them to gel with the quarterback. But for me, it was just really sloppy from them. But congratulations on the win, because a win is a win. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, Steelers definitely won it. Again, it was another blowout. Pion was outstanding. He had over 200 yards rushing. I enjoyed the fake punt from Henderson as well. The little fake punt. Like, I enjoyed that. He got a nice little 20-yard gain, and the lead blockers did a great job getting out in front of him, and he did well holding on to that ball. Obviously, he's not used to carrying a football, but some guys were coming over trying to strip it, but he did a good job to keep it. The one thing I did like about Trago, I know you said he did miss quite a few of his throws to start with in the first half. I felt like his connection is slowly building. He looks more comfortable than we did. Is he making great throws at the moment? Not all the time, but he does look more comfortable back there. He looks a little bit more relaxed. One thing I do like about his arm is his arm strength. He does have a strong arm. Now, it's not as accurate as Josh Taylor, but he does have a strong arm. The post he ripped to Austin Brock. I think they were going from left to right at the time, and that was a great throw. And the Koika touchdown as well, the slant route, he threw that thing in there. Absolutely rifled it in there. But yeah, so there's some things which I did like about him. One thing I think the Steelers could do, now that they've established such a strong run game, is they could run a bit of read option. They could run a bit of like leaving the backside end, for example, and just looking and seeing if he's going with the quarterback to see if the quarterback can pull on any run play. Because I know Trigal can run as well, but we haven't seen him run yet much. I think he scored one rushing touchdown, but that was like a sneak, like a tush push. But I feel like it's something they could exploit because the run game's so good. Everyone's going to be all in on defending Pion. Trigal would just say, okay, hold on a minute, I'm going to ride this and just pull it and then go the other way. So, you know, it's something that you could see and exploit later down the line. Rasmus Lalo, the pick machine strikes again. He threw another pick added to his tally. Like, I mean,
what are we at, like 25 on the season?
I don't know. It's about that. Yeah, I'm going to look now, but this guy is a pick machine. The fact that Kevin Adams can get 1,000 yards is crazy with a quarterback like this. And I'm sorry, but because I know Rasmus and I like the guy, but he shouldn't be playing quarterback. Like, he's not in a good position. If this team want to be anything serious next year, because they need a quarterback. They have to get a quarterback because it's just not.
They look like they're a shade knitter away, right?
24 picks on the season. 24 picks.
That's not 25. That's just averaging two per game.
But he only threw 13 touchdowns.
That's one per game. So every game he's on one touchdown and 2 interceptions. It's not bad.
No, it's really bad. Is what it is.
It's not really good. My bad. It's not good.
What I did find interesting though, because obviously Tragel's new into this team, and I think it's only the second or third game he's played for the Steelers now. Yeah. They took him out late in the game, and they replaced him with a backup, and they were 35-7 up at the time. So I get why you would usually take your quarterback out at that point, but you're going into the playoffs now. You need as many reps on offense with this quarterback as possible, and you should be cherishing every single rep and opportunity you get because he needs to keep building chemistry with his receivers because it's not quite there yet. I feel like he's more comfortable. I don't feel like the chemistry's spot on yet, and that's something that's going to build on more game time, more game reps. So the fact that they're wasting reps is quite interesting to me.
I tell you why. TIF.
This doesn't make any sense at all.
I mean, that's what I guess you did have your quarterback get injured earlier in the season, so you're more cautious. That would be a good reason. But I agree with you. I don't think it's something you do at this point of the season if you're trying to really make a playoff push or get better for the playoffs.
If you're serious about winning this season, Steelers, you need to make sure that he plays the entire game this coming week against the Crusaders because you need as many reps and as much time under center as possible heading into that playoff week because you can't replicate game reps in practice.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
I don't care what anyone says. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't matter if your defense is better than the other team's defense, which is obviously the case with the Steelers. The Steelers' defense is better than the Crusaders' defense, so they're playing against a better defense in training. But it's not the same as playing on game day in the uniform. It's not the same as playing against the team that you're not used to, because you don't necessarily know all the stunts that they're going to do at a defensive line, all the different coverages that they're going to offer you. It's going to be a different thing. So the fact that they're wasting game reps, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Especially for Tragle, because it's one of those things that I've talked to a player earlier this week about as well, is playing in the Maple League isn't like wherever you were coming from. I think he was playing in France earlier this year. So his reps is just getting used to the level of play, of how they play here. It's not even necessarily like, I mean, obviously you want to get reps with the players, but you got to adjust to the speed. How do the players do this? Like you said, you're reading the defense, but do they move at the speed that you're accustomed to? Are the windows going to be there? You need as many reps as possible. Both, I agree with you, both from your team's practice as well as from the game, because like you said, that the other team is going to give you looks that you don't practice against as well. And even if they're not the same as what you're going to see in the playoffs, because the Crusaders are not going to be a playoff team, they're going to give you some fits that you haven't seen as a player because he hasn't been in the league. It's different if you had someone like Josh Taylor who's already played this team and has already played in this league for half a season. Okay, you want to shut him down, then the game makes sense. But like you said, Tragle's in 3-4 games he's played so far. He's still a rookie. They're still going to do the rookie haze at the end of the season, I'm assuming, right? Steelers? Yeah, do your thing. But so yeah, he needs to get all the reps he can get out of this, and it's kind of crazy they didn't do that. But to each his own. TIF, that's it for us. I mean, yeah, they want a win is a win. A win is a win. That's what they say. All right, that's it for this episode of American Football in Finland. Chris, any last words before we get out of here?
No, I'm looking forward to the playoffs now. We've got one more week in the regular season, and then it's go time. So all fire, all guns blazing on the playoffs, and all teams should have their eyes on that now. Well, the four teams anyway.
Yeah, well, last weekend is over, so you can catch us talking about the upcoming games right here on the AFF podcast tomorrow. Subscribe, follow, like, and share on all social channels at American Football in Finland. Until next time, never forget
TIF.
We out of here.
Go.
Bye. Hasta la vista.